Depth is one of the biggest things that makes queer media feel alive. Clairebell is the GL with the most depth I've ever seen. This show set the bar insanely high for the Thai GL industry. Like, good luck to anyone trying to top that anytime soon. So, in today's video, I'm basically breaking down the show. My analysis, my thoughts, and my own little queer media lover perspective on why Clairebell hits so hard. And I've seen the complaints. The whole male gaze discourse around Clairebell's intimate scenes, we're going to talk about that too. I have things to say. My first segment is the opening credits. Clairebell is so intentional with its storytelling. Like from the very first scene, the show tells you exactly what kind of romance you're stepping into. The opening shot doesn't even show Belle directly. Instead, we see her through this door with bars. She's moving behind it, and that visual alone sets the tone. It immediately gives you that feeling of being watched, being confined, and it quietly signals, this is a prison romance, and everything you're about to see is shaped by that environment. What I love about Clairebell is that nothing is random. Every tiny detail serves a purpose. And I have this habit where I watch the opening credits in each episode of my favorite shows. I don't skip because the intro tells a whole story right from episode 1, and is almost every time. You just have to dissect it. I knew instantly this show was going to be a masterpiece. Look closely at the prison imagery in the credits. It looks empty at first, but it's not actually empty. The color palette is already hinting at the characters. One cell is drenched in this dark green shade, which is Belle and Kay's space. The other has this soft yellow gold tint. That's the 3D gang. You can even see Dee Dee's makeup and doodles on the wall, which perfectly matches their chaotic, playful energy. And spoiler alert, we already know who is the real villain here. I know show tried to trick us into thinking that 3D gang is the real villain, but it's actually this woman. And then, in the middle of this empty prison, only Claire and Belle appear. When they show up, their colors shift completely. It's blue, it's red, there's this grainy, film-like texture. It feels like we're watching someone's recorded memory. Two people in love, captured in fragments. When the camera pulls back and shows the wider prison, the contrast becomes even clearer. The whole prison is dark, but behind it, the sun is rising in this soft golden color. It's symbolic. This is a place full of trapped, shadowed lives. But something bright is coming. Something is about to change. And by the end of the opening credits, Claire and Belle are literally running hand in hand down the hallway straight toward the light. That's the moment the show tells you this isn't a story about prison. It's a story about love, a dreamy, romantic, almost fairy tale kind of love set inside a prison. And that's what makes Clairebell different from every other lesbian prison show out there. It's not trying to be gritty for the sake of it. Yes, you can nitpick the logic, but those details were never meant to be the core. Even the director said in an interview that Clairebell was intentionally treated as a love story first. First bloom and last petal. So, if you didn't know, Clairebell isn't a novel adaptation. It's actually the opposite. This show was originally written and conceived as a TV series, and later the production team, Davika and the others, decided to turn it into a novel. Davika talked about this in an interview. They did this because, in GLs, the usual pattern is that a novel gets adapted into a series. But here, a series got adapted into a novel instead. And this makes a huge difference, because the way you write a novel versus the way you write a screenplay is completely different. When a novel gets adapted into an 8 to 10 episode show, things always get cut, rearranged, or toned down because of time limits. But Clairebell isn't structured like that at all. It was written with the purpose of being a series from the very beginning. That's why every episode has a clean start, a clear ending, and a hook that pulls you straight into the next one. It feels intentional, not compressed. The very first episode is titled Initiation or Orientation. We all know what orientation usually means, right? A beginning, an introduction, a fresh start. But when the episode starts, the exact opposite happens. We see Belle in her graduation gown taking what looks like a perfect family photo, with her father, her boyfriend, and the nurse. It literally looks like the ending scene of a feel-good movie. And ironically, it is the ending of Belle's good life. Because within minutes, we find out she's about to go to prison. Then we see her again, this time entering the prison, standing in orientation, listening to rules and regulations. It's such a smart and tricky way to name this episode Initiation. And when the episode ends, it ends with our two main leads, Claire and Belle, finally sitting together across from each other for the first time. They're eating together, and from the Belle's perspective, we see everyone else around them is rolling their eyes at Claire and her because she's seen as the crazy dog. But Claire protects Belle from the 3D gang, which is very unlike her. She doesn't interfere with anyone, she doesn't engage, she stays in her lane. But for Belle, she steps in. And the Belle, despite the eye rolls, she smiles and keeps eating, which was even a little surprise for Claire herself. That's their initiation. Episode 1 clearly sets the tone for the entire series. And you'll notice this pattern throughout the show. Every episode starts and ends with intention. Each one hooks into the next like a chain. Another perfect example is episode 4, Lost and Found. In this episode, we see Claire and Belle losing two of the most important people in their life, Grandma and her father. But at the same time, Claire and Belle find each other. And the emotional shift in their story is massive. They lost someone, but they found each other. Roses are red. One of the things Clairebell does beautifully is its use of color and symbolism, especially the color red and of course roses. Roses have always been romantic symbols. Valentine's Day, love letters, confessions, roses automatically mean love. But in Clairebell, roses aren't just a prop, they're a storytelling tool. Even the novel cover isn't just a rose. It's a pot with a whole rose plant growing, and that already tells you the theme: growth, time, patience, and love that doesn't bloom overnight. From the very first episode, we see Claire's interest in gardening. She's trying to grow roses, but they're not blooming yet. And then Grandma tells the warden, who wants to replace flowers with vegetables, "Give it some time, dear. It will bloom." And that line, it's not just about the plants. It's about Claire, Belle, and their entire relationship. Eventually, the roses do bloom, slowly, patiently, and this connects directly to Claire and Belle. Their first hand-touching moment happens in the garden. It's small, it's quiet, but it's deeply intimate for Claire because she's emotionally distant from everyone. Belle is the only person who gets close enough to her that even their fingers grazing sparks something. And then there's the way red appears throughout the show. Belle is the only character who consistently wears bright red. In her graduation scene, she's in a black gown, but the bright red pops and she's holding roses while smiling with her father. Later, we see her in a full red dress. No other character in that universe gets this color treatment. For Claire, red means something completely different. Anytime her crazy dog persona appears, we get red lighting, red tones. It becomes dangerous, intense, alarming. So for Belle, red is soft and romantic. For Claire, red is wild and unstable. Same color, same symbol, but completely opposite meanings. Same, but different. And when the two of them work together in the garden, growing rose plants and waiting for them to bloom, it becomes a metaphor for their entire relationship. Slow, intentional, patient, and built on time. That's why the greenhouse wedding scene hits so hard. The entire place is filled with blooming roses, a visual proof of how much both characters have grown, individually and together. Roses take time to bud, time to open, time to become something beautiful, and Claire and Belle's love follows the exact same pattern. Even episode 5 uses fast cuts and quick transitions to show how rapidly time is passing, which makes the blooming payoff even more meaningful. I genuinely love how Clairebell uses the symbolism of roses and the color red. It's consistent, emotional, and woven into the love story in such a thoughtful way. Cinematic choices and visual storytelling. Clairebell has some frames that are genuinely cinematic masterpieces. One of the first examples is in episode 1 when Claire is in isolation. We see her looking out through this tiny window in the door. She's eating a piece of chicken almost animalistically. It's rough, messy, there's blood on her hands. On paper, this should paint her as terrifying. But then the show adds this soft, yellow golden light on her face, and suddenly it tells a different story. It's like the directors are saying, yes, she looks scary. Yes, the rumors call her a monster. But look closer. There's softness here. There's humanity that people ignore. In that same scene, the whole room is swallowed in dark green tones. The only light source is the yellow sunlight coming from the upper window, hitting Claire's face as she reaches for it with bloody fingers. The contrast between dark and warm yellow is a visual language the show keeps using. We see the same shift in their first kissing scene, where the colors transition quickly from dark and intense to this dreamy golden yellow. It feels like the world softens when they're together. This color theory doesn't only apply to Claire. Other characters are introduced through color as well. Kay, for example, is introduced in darkness, acting weird, unsettling, suspicious. Belle, on the other hand, is almost always in warm, soft light. Her palette is lighter, safer, more comforting. But the show doesn't keep her in that bubble forever. There are scenes where Belle becomes swallowed by dark, green, and black, like the moment she finds out about her father's death. The color grading immediately shifts the entire mood, and it reflects her internal collapse. Clairebell uses color grading as a mood setter and a character psychologist. The green and yellows, the light and shadow, the shifts between warmth and darkness, all of it helps you understand what the characters aren't saying out loud. It's one of the reasons this series feels so cinematic and emotionally layered. One thing I really appreciate about Clairebell is how shy it is with its music. In most GLs, the moment the couple breathes in the same direction, boom, OST. And usually the OST is sung by the actors themselves, so it plays every 2 minutes just to remind you. This is super common in the genre. It's cute, but sometimes it's doing too much. Clairebell, on the other hand, does the complete opposite. It barely uses music. It lets silence, tension, and small sounds do the storytelling. And because the show is so restrained with music, the moments when music does appear feel meaningful. One of my favorite examples is in episode 4, after Claire and Belle officially become girlfriends. Instead of playing a random romantic OST with slow motion shots, the show introduces music in the most unexpected and adorable way, through other characters. You suddenly see the prison warden and Dao dancing out of nowhere. It's funny, it's random, and it completely breaks the tension in the best way. Then, in the very next cut, the music flows naturally into a scene where Claire and Belle walk down the hallway and kiss through the cell bars. It's cute, it's soft, and it feels earned. Whoever made that editing and directing choice deserves a medal. They didn't rely on cliches. They didn't shove music in our face. They let the moment breathe, and it made the romance feel more real. Now let's talk about the acting, because how can I discuss Clairebell and not appreciate the performances? This cast is a mix of seasoned actors and newcomers, and honestly, everyone delivers. There isn't a single moment where the acting dips or feels out of place. Someone actually commented on my previous video saying, yeah, Mabel's acting was good, but the others weren't that impressive. Like, I'd be serious. Have you seen this scene? The way these actresses let themselves be so vulnerable on screen, it's raw, emotional, and completely believable. This moment alone proves that the entire cast knows exactly what they're doing. Another standout performance comes from Noon Siripan in the family episode. She completely stole that episode. Her emotional control, her delivery, the way her expressions shift, so good. And it's not just the leads. Even the 3D gang, who mostly handle the comedic moments, absolutely nail their timing. Their jokes land, their reactions feel real, and they balance the darker parts of the story with just enough levity. Honestly, Clairebell's casting team deserves a round of applause. Everyone showed up, everyone committed, and it's a huge part of why this series feels so grounded and emotionally strong. The elephant in the room. Okay, let's finally talk about that topic, the intimate scenes. Because yes, I watch them, and no, I genuinely don't understand how people are calling them male gaze. I saw multiple tweets saying things like, people like Davika aren't doing it for queer art. The intimacy and the story don't match. She's doing it because explicit scenes between conventionally attractive women sell to the male gaze. Like, I don't know what pissed this person off so badly that they wrote this. Because Clairebell honestly has one of the most realistic depictions of lesbian intimacy I've seen in years. Yes, I'll admit this. The final scene at the end of the episode, where they cut between the straight couple and the sapphic couple, wasn't the strongest editing choice. It would have been better if they just focused on Claire and Belle. But one editing choice does not automatically turn an entire scene into male gaze. That's not how filmmaking works. If anything, the intimacy in Clairebell is beautifully done. It's hot, it's emotional, it's grounded, and it feels like an actual moment between two women, not some glossy, slow-mo, censored montage we've seen in dozens of GLs. The nail-cutting moment, the library scene, the final scene, all of it was handled with intention, with boundaries, and with respect for the actresses. I appreciate the show for not going into full nudity. There was absolutely no need for that. The direction and framing were already intimate enough without crossing personal lines. This, to me, is one of the best pieces of queer art we've gotten in Thai GLs in years. And yes, I will defend it. I also saw another comment that actually makes sense. Some people think something becomes misogynistic the moment it's erotic. And I agree. There's this strange mindset where any explicitly intimate scene with two women suddenly gets labeled for men. even when queer women themselves are saying it's the most realistic portrayal they've seen. Plus, let's be honest, Clairebell is trending everywhere. A lot of this discourse is absolutely coming from fan wars, jealousy, and people's personal biases. Some people just don't want to admit another show is doing intimacy better than their fave. For me, I'm tired of the old slow-mo GL intimacy. It's cute, it's wholesome, but it's been done a million times. The actresses sometimes look hesitant. I'm not going to name the couple here. If you know, you know. It's not bad, the whole slow-mo thing. It's cute, it's sweet, and a lot of GL fans love that style, especially the younger audience. That formula is safe, it's comfortable, and it also conveniently hides the actress's hesitation because everything is blurred with slow motion and long cuts. It's fine, especially for younger GL viewers. Totally understand why it exists. But when we finally get intimacy, like in Roller Coaster, like in Clairebell, even Fei Mei in Somewhere Somehow, something that actually mirrors real couples, we should be appreciating that. Different styles exist for different audiences, but calling Clairebell's intimacy male gaze is reaching. And personally, I'm happy Clairebell and its actresses were bold enough to break the safe formula. And we finally reached the end of the video. Listen, I'm not some professional film critic or super polished reviewer, I'm just a GL fan who loves talking about the shows. I tried my best to structure my thoughts and share my little analysis of the series. I wasn't even sure what to keep and what to cut out, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. I keep getting comments asking me to talk about this GL or that GL, so with this video, I wanted to try doing a proper, longer review. Depending on how this one does, I'll keep making more videos like this. So tell me your thoughts, drop your opinions, and let me know which GL you want me to cover next.